Now, I've done one episode on JP so far, and it was not the most fun thing that I ever did. But before we get into that, very first of all, I just want to show that bisexual lighting does not work on my stream. There! My half-assed attempt at bisexual lighting on the stream. Now people can stop asking me when I'm going to go through the bisexual lighting arc like every other leftist YouTuber. The first one we have here is from a Nubian. We have on a DS. Are you ready for a bad time? I have played enough Undertale. I will never go through that particular route. The next one we have is from Smacko. I tried so hard to emulate Evan Stanley's style. Have a Suris. Well, I will gladly take a Suris. And it's artwork like this that has caused me to hire Smacko to help out on the Nekosaurus channel. Jeebus. The last one we have is from Nevermore Fox. I joined the Discord wholly to share this while watching Suris at work. Love this version of the slime model. Definitely my favorite. Don't listen to this shell. Buy this sex toy. You heard unverified info. The neck popping is extremely dangerous. When somebody else does it to you, it can be. You can get some pretty bad side effects from that. Said, oh, yes, Smacko. You know the project we're working on. Anyways, as always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and get right into it after the usual YouTube shill. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. If you haven't hit the like button and maybe headed over to the Patreon, which is in the link below, then maybe consider doing that. It would help me out absolutely immensely. And with all that shilling out of the way, the video is called I Was Wrong About Abortion, Why I Changed My Mind. Let's get into it.
Kids are cute. Hi, friend. In this video, I probably won't be very funny, but what I will do
is be sped up. That's what we will be doing. We will be speeding you up. Okay? Thank you.
Is share with you why I changed my mind about abortion, what I used to believe, what I believe now, and why I changed my mind. And along the way, I'll also be sharing with you my most embarrassing blunder that I'm not proud of about what I used to think about abortion. Oh,
okay, cool. Interesting. Maybe we'll get some nice and nuanced opinions, or maybe we won't. Let's find out.
And trigger warning, my current thinking about the topic will probably piss you off, no matter which side of the aisle you're on.
Oh?
Why are you sharing your opinion about abortion, JP? Because as a man who obviously could get pregnant at any time, I just feel that it's important that my voice is heard on the matter.
Old school, AJ says he's never funny. Not lately. Thank you for the resubscription. So this guy turned into a right-wing influencer. Well, let's see. He said that it's going to piss off both people. Let's see if he pisses off both sides.
And if you don't think my voice should be heard, then that implies that you don't think men can get pregnant. So be careful, because we don't want you contradicting yourself with the conflicting Marxist agendas that your mind is infected with.
Remember how he said it wasn't going to be funny? I mean, he was right. But then he started doing the exact same shit he's been doing on his channel lately. So we've got the fun transphobia here. The don't be contradictory when you say men can't be pregnant and you also say women's rights. No, there's not a contradiction here. Colloquially, when we say women's bodies, we know that we're talking about people who have uteruses, because that is a bit of language that's been used for the longest time. If you would rather use the more inclusive language that says people with uteruses or people who can get pregnant, as opposed to just saying women, that's perfectly okay. Go ahead and do that. But to say that the colloquial terms that we are using that are generally understood between most people in standard parlance is a logical contradiction is a bit of a stretch. Yeah, it's a good thumbnail face.
So true. But why I'm really sharing my opinion is I used to think one way about abortion, and now I think a completely different way about it. And I just want to share how my thinking has changed, because I think it's really important that we allow our thinking to change, because that's how we learn and grow. And another reason is that given that the topic of abortion can throw people into a hysterical fit of polarized rage, I just want to share the 2 cents that comes from my heart and logical discernment, not my emotional hysteria.
Shut up!
Okay, and then of course we have another Haha, funny joke.
You oppressive man. We don't need your toxic masculinity.
Hi, feminists. If you see toxic masculinity everywhere you look, then the mirror of life might be trying to tell you something about yourself. But I'm sure I'm wrong because I'm just an empowered man and you're just a rageful woman who still hasn't recovered from her daddy issues. Also, my current
All right, so let's go ahead and get something out of the way. Yes, there are people who take feminism too far. That shouldn't be a controversial statement. There are people who label themselves feminists and end up becoming extremist assholes. There are people who tend to be very inclusive, but then tend to be, again, just assholes on the internet because of feminism. And then there are people who tend to take the label and pretend that they're feminists and call themselves, what was the word here? Trans exclusive radical feminist. Oh yeah, that one. That person who's not a feminist, but really, really likes to LARP that they are. Sam says that's because toxic masculinity is literally everywhere. It's called an oppressive patriarchal society. Yeah. Trans exclusionary radical feminists, TERFs. Sorry, I don't tend to it's late. But by and large, though, most people who are feminists tend to be just shooting for equality. When they talk about masculinity, like toxic masculinity, that's not telling men that they need to fuck off for any one reason or the other. Usually, the issues that tend to be labeled toxic masculinity are things that men could work on to help themselves as well. A manifestation of that can easily be, let's say that you're not allowed to feel. You don't think you're allowed to feel your emotions. You're not allowed to cry in front of people. You're not allowed to do those things because you're a guy. You've got to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. And also thinking that every relationship you should be the only breadwinner. Your wife should not be able, or should not have to help you with the bills as well. Those are all bits of toxic masculinity that don't actually tend to hurt women as often as they hurt men, because those ideas that we have about gender tend to hurt us more than anything. There are ways in which the ideas of toxic masculinity do in fact manifest in a way that hurts women and men equally. But a lot of the times when somebody's pointing it out, don't just assume that they're being an asshole. Hear them out. Okay, you think that a thing that you're doing is a manifestation of toxic masculinity. Why do you think that? What about it is a manifestation, and how is it that? But let's continue.
thoughts on abortion probably aren't what you think they're going to be either. You might be thinking, oh, JP, Mr. Freedom? Well, of course your thinking is going to be in line with the conservatives. No, not exactly. I don't like to outsource my thinking to any group. I like to think for myself. And you might also be thinking, well, does that mean, JP, you've gone all crazy liberal on us? You going to dye your hair blue next? Nope. My thinking definitely isn't in line with what they're told to think, nor is it in some...
Look at me. I am special. I am real man. I have figured out all the politics. This is a thing that I tend to hear a lot from people when they say that I'm not right or left. I'm insert thing here. Anytime I hear that, it's usually someone trying to argue that their opinions are unique. They have found something about politics that sets them apart from everybody else. I would like to point out to everybody that, generally speaking, no, you haven't, but let's go ahead and see what point he has.
Some boring middle ground either. It's more in like a straight line that pierces into a different dimension. So let me explain, starting with what I used to think about abortion, and at the end, we'll get to what I do think about abortion now. I used to think pretty much like a leftist about abortion. Not only did I think women should have the right to an abortion, I thought getting an abortion was a pretty empowered choice for a woman to make. Like, you go girl, kill that baby. And I also used to think that like in the first trimester, the baby that you're about to kill, it's not really a baby yet, because I've heard other people say that, and it's a pretty convenient thing to think. Here's my...
Oh boy, we've got the when does personhood begin thing. Can people stop using this smoke screen? When personhood begins, it doesn't matter. If somebody walks into your house and they are trespassing on your property, by the way, your body is your property much like anything else. If they're trespassing on your property, to argue that you should not be able to defend yourself to get them off of your property is kind of stupid. So if somebody is trespassing inside your body, to argue that you cannot defend yourself by removing them from inside your body is equally stupid. It's your right to not have your body violated, either by an adult or by a fucking fetus. It doesn't matter. Give it personhood at every single stage. I don't care.
Most embarrassing blunder about my old thinking about abortion. Now, I'm not proud of it, but it's true, so I'm going to share it. Here it is. the thinking that was going through my mind about abortion, it wasn't my thinking. The leftist propaganda about abortion got to me. I'll admit it. I fell for it. And it's 100% my fault. It was nothing other than mental weakness and a lack of self-awareness on my part that allowed it. And
It was leftist propaganda? Really? Is that where we're going? Leftist propaganda on abortion changed your mind? I mean, at least he's taking some personal ownership for it, but really? Our propaganda on abortion? Okay. I think the thing that's going to be interesting is hearing what his actual position is at this point.
the scariest thing about it was I didn't know it was propaganda. I thought it was my own thinking. Leftist propaganda about abortion, JP? Huh? Yeah, without sugarcoating it, I think there's evil, tyrannical people in this world, controlled by Satan if I'm being honest, and I am.
There's evil people in this world controlled by your imaginary enemy. Is this where we get to the playing Poe thing? Where we have no way of knowing if he's actually, like, playing a character or whether he's legitimately believing this? I don't know. I don't know. But come on, don't... Is it a you thing or is it your imaginary enemy thing? Can you make a decision on that?
Who want to keep the population of the world small so it's easier for them to control everybody, and they want to destroy the nuclear family so people grow up weaker and are therefore more controllable.
How does not having a nuclear family make people weaker? How? Hold on. What's the fucking fasci meme? Also, how's it going, Toucan Tilly? What's the fucking fasci meme? The hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. That fucking cycle, right? That one right there that people found actually was linked to a bunch of really fucked up ideology. So your bigoted brother likes to quote that? Of course he does. For every problem, for every complicated problem that exists in the world, there is a solution that is clear, cut, and completely wrong. It's just that all over again. But I thought that was the mentality, right? So why is it that hard times, which would be not having your nuclear family, would create weak people? I thought weak people came from the good times. Shouldn't the logic be that the good, successful nuclear family should create the weak people? Why is it the other way around? I don't know. Maybe I'm throwing beliefs on him that he doesn't have, but let's continue.
And knowing's half the battle. Getting people to get abortions is a big strategy of theirs, and they get people to get abortions through their propaganda that gets people to think that not only are abortions okay, but abortions should be a celebrated, empowered choice. More on that in a minute. But the moral of this story is that propaganda got to me. Now my pronouns are he who thinks for himself, so I can better draw a distinction between what my
pronoun joke. I love these jokes. I love pronoun jokes. We've been saying the same one for 6 years, and it hasn't gotten any funnier. But okay. Sure thing, JP. So let's go ahead and lay out the strategy so far as he's thrown it in. Leftists want there to be more abortions so that people will be weaker on the whole, and also there will be fewer people. Now, I'm sure that would make sense from like a really... If you're trying to think of everything as like a linear thing, if you're trying to think of everything as a pattern, then sure. Why not? It could be an end result that people having access and control over their own bodies would lead to more people being, would lead to less people being born. My answer is, so what? Who cares? Why does that terror of yours suddenly make it okay for you to argue for the control of somebody else's body? But let's continue.
Heart feels and what my own critical thinking says versus the propaganda that comes into my mind from outside sources. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've made a lot of progress in this area. Thus, I no longer believe abortions are just okay, and I certainly don't believe there's something to be celebrated. I look at what I used to think and what's all over the leftist media today, and it's very clear that people are being persuaded to think about abortion as a virtue. This happens through weaponized morality. That's when you have
Wait, who tries to argue that abortion's a virtue? Wait, who? Where? Where's that? Where does that happen? What's the usual phrase? Abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Where does that one come from? Because I think that one's usually argued from our side, right? Not who is celebrating abortions? Who is literally going out going, aha, isn't it great for all this to happen? Like, outside of some people at a protest, right? Outside of some people at a protest. Because I could understand if there's a handful of people at a protest that are saying that, then maybe you would get that idea, because slogans of all varieties, even stupid ones, get shouted all the time at large protests. But okay, let's continue.
Manipulative people who get good people to think that doing something horrible is not only not horrible, but it's a good thing to do. It's a moral thing. In Nazi Germany, it was turn your neighbor in to face a certain death because it's the right thing to do.
Oh, god damn it. We've got the pre-reform Hunter Avalon argument. It's Nazis. Nazi comparison. Why are the Nazi comparisons here? What's the point of a Nazi comparison?
Now it's scream at your neighbor for not getting jabbed because it helps keep everyone safe.
Yeah, vaccines do help keep everybody safe. That's kind of a well-known scientific fact, JP. That's how vaccines work. You get a vaccine, it lowers the likelihood that you will spread a disease and lowers the likelihood you will catch a disease, and therefore we all end up being moderately safer. In areas that have less access to vaccines, it is a known fact that viruses tend to mutate a lot more often because their ability to spread is not impeded. This is not news to anybody, JP.
Or peacefully burn down buildings in Portland because racial equality is important. Or
right, destroying property as part of a protest for people getting killed. Now, I'm not going to say that riots are good. Riots, generally speaking, are the voice of the unheard. These are the things that people tend to resort to when they feel as though they have no power elsewise. They're not a good thing, but it should be noted that when you trample on a minority group to a particular degree, the likelihood of riots happening tends to increase quite a lot. Let's roll things back to, say, Stonewall. The Stonewall riots happened because people were literally, like, legally not allowed to be gay or trans. Like, that stuff got you in trouble with the law. And eventually, the police enacted violence on people in the Stonewall bar. As a result, a riot broke out, and that's been the basis for things like pride parades ever since, were the Stonewall riots that were functionally, for a minority group, a form of self-defense because that boot had been crunching on their neck for so long. It's interesting to me that all the context, like the reasons why a riot happened, tend to not be given in their fullest. When you say, oh, a building was burned because something racial inequality, okay, cool. But let's talk about the why. Did police happen to attack first? What happened in the specific scenario that led to that happening? This is why if we do things like talk about January 6th, it's important to note the context around January 6th. Why were people rioting? Because they didn't think that we had a fair election. Was all the evidence there to show them that we did in fact have a fair election? Yes. Which is why most of that was a huge issue. They also literally threatened the safety of other human beings by going in and saying they would do things like hang Mitch McConnell. Not Mitch McConnell. Was it Mitch McConnell? No, Mitch is fucking Turtle Boy. Mike Pence. That one. Not Turtle Boy. Mike Pence. It was Pence. A lot of that context tends to be missing when you hear a lot of people talk about riots on the right wing. Not all the time, but certainly here. But let's continue.
Or get an abortion because of women's empowerment. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's all weaponized morality. I will unapologetically say that pretending a baby isn't a baby and then killing the baby is not a virtue. It might be a choice, but it's certainly not a virtue. Having a choice is empowering, but that doesn't mean any choice you make is an empowered choice. For example, if you're over...
That actually kind of does. You're empowered to make a choice. This is what that means.
21, you have the choice of whether or not to drink large amounts of alcohol every night. And if you choose to get drunk every night, that doesn't mean you're choosing an empowered choice. I think we'd all agree that though the choice is yours, choosing to drink excessively every night is a very disempowered choice.
Is that though? Okay, now we're talking about addiction. Or does this analogy work? Are people addicted to abortions? Is there somebody going to the abortion clinic every month or so going, "Hey Karen, can you scrape the zygote out of me again today? I had to get 15 bukkake cream pies and I just need them scraped out of me, okay?" Is that a thing that generally happens?
Yet weaponized morality tries to get women to think that they're making an empowered choice if they choose to abort their baby. But what I consider to be a very empowered choice for women around reproduction is for them to have very strong discernment and boundaries about who they have sex with in the first place.
Yeah, nobody's saying they can't. Oh, I see where this is going. As opposed to somebody being free to do with their body what they will, which you would think would be his argument if he's anti-vax. Now it's, no, you should exercise better discernment when it comes to who you sleep with. And sure, why not? I'm perfectly okay with people exercising good judgment with the people they sleep with. I mean, hell, very recently, a friend of mine did not exercise good judgment with the people he slept with, and things have fallen out as a result of that. So yeah, I can understand that. I can get behind that. But I feel like this is functionally going to be, I said this in flowery language, but what I meant was, women, keep your legs shut.
Having sex with someone to fill a psychological void so you can feel like you matter to them and are valued by them for a few moments is a very disempowered choice from the Genesis. But
Okay, yeah. I could agree with that. But are you going to use that as some way to say that women should not have the choice to do that? Or what? Where are we going with this, JP? Also, Toucan Tilly, thank you for the follow.
I got an abortion, so I'm empowered now. No, because anything built on the foundation of a disempowered choice will simply be an extension of disempowerment.
No, not necessarily. You're getting an abortion is exercising autonomy over your own body. That's what that is. A thing is inside your body that you don't want, you cut it out. That thing could be a person, that thing could be an ant. It doesn't matter. You cut it out because it's your body and you are empowered within your body to make decisions about your body. Okay, so we agree with that. Let's get Dave Abbott. Thank you very much for hitting your points for an ada. You fucking degenerate. If we can agree on that, then that is an empowered choice. It may be a choice that somebody regrets. It may be a choice that they do not like making. It may be a choice that they don't want to make, but it's the lesser of two evils for them. But it's still an empowered choice because it's a choice that was previously taken away from people and now they have the power to do it. Or, I mean, it's the opposite now, thanks to the Supreme Court. But let's continue.
Illusion of empowered choice in the abortion scenario is maybe just a rationalization for not improving your self-esteem by using courage to make more empowered choices from the get-go that have you filling your psychological voids from within rather than using men to fill them. Hi again, feminists. Feel free to go back and listen to that part again. And just so you know, getting mad every time you hear someone say something you don't like doesn't make you empowered. It makes you unstable.
No, not necessarily. You can be perfectly stable and hear a thing you don't like, and that thing make you angry for very good reasons. For instance, were I Jewish, I mean, I don't even have to be Jewish for anti-Semitism to make me unhappy. Even angry, potentially even livid, depending on the time of day. It's perfectly reasonable for a stable person to get angry when another person is telling them they should not have a right to their own body. This is a way to infantilize somebody on the internet as opposed to taking their position seriously.
Okay, JP, you've shared what you used to think about abortion. So what do you think about abortion? Great question. My current perspective will probably piss off all the leftists, and I'll probably piss off a lot of conservatives who otherwise agree with me on a lot of issues, but instead of just going along with groupthink, I'd rather be honest. So here it is. I think...
Yeah, I don't like this fucking... I didn't follow any of the narratives. I wrote my own book. Cool, great. It's called having an opinion. You did it. Go ahead. Continue.
Abortions are evil, yet should be legal for the first couple months after conception. Say more, JP. I will.
The first couple months? So for 8 weeks? You think abortion should only be legal for 8 weeks?
I really believe that abortion is straight up killing babies. And not only is that not a virtue, that's evil. Yet if I imagine I'm a woman, as apparently a lot of men are doing nowadays, and
And of course, we got the transphobia again. If I imagine I'm a woman, there's a lot of men are doing these days. Yuck, yuck, yuck. No, JP, fucking... Gender's a social construct. Sex is biological, but the parameters which we use to determine sex are also constructed. But that's not important. Let's go ahead and keep that dichotomy for a moment. Sex, biological, gender, social. Let's make it simple. Let's do the thing that we do when we tell people that the sun is a ball of gas, and then later we have to tell them that actually the sun is a ball of plasma. Let's go and do that for a minute. Gender is a real thing, technically speaking. It's also not real. It's as real as money is, or as real as time is, because time and money are both social constructs. If you don't believe that time is a social construct or money is a social construct, let's go ahead and get onto that. Also, Fat Bald Bastard, thank you very much for the follow. How are you doing today? But let's go ahead and talk about both those things. Time, the actual parameters for time are things that have been agreed on. How long is a minute? How long is a second? Said VGG is coming your way. Oh, fuck them. Let them do it. I don't give a shit. Radical Criticism says Vosh raid coming soon. Oh, dear. But time isn't a real thing. Time's a measurement of change, but the device itself, the thing we utilize to measure that change, we made up. What's an hour? We made it up. What's a minute? We made it up. All of that shit, we made up. Money, same thing. What's the value of a dollar? Changes on the day. Why? Agreements and a bunch of economical shit. It is all made up. Gender is literally the exact same thing. It's a real thing that we have to interact with every fucking day. But it's also fucking made up. Miss Birdhat, thank you for the follow. Oh yes, apparently we have a Vosh raid popping in. Oh dear. So we used to measure time by burning candles. Yeah, like I said, it's a socially constructed thing. It works because we've operated our lives around it. A different planet would have a different idea of what gender is, if they even constructed an idea of that at all. They would have an different idea for currency, if they even constructed the idea of currency at all. And they'd have a different idea for time, which I think that it'd be very hard to operate without some way of measuring that, but they would. So you're talking about units of measurement. This is not a solid argument. Then you can argue that meters are a social construct. Doesn't mean that distance doesn't exist. A meter is a social construct, but distance exists. Time is a social construct, but change exists. I think this is a bad analogy to use time, please. I don't. J-Flow, thank you for the follow. Cygnus, thank you for the follow. And Void Caliber and Last Dinosaur, thank you for the follow. Because you have to remember, time's a measurement of change. The change is a real thing. That is, there's a physical amount of change that is happening in any given amount of whatever the fuck you want to call it. Said time passes without humans. Yeah, change happens without humans. But time, what is a second, what is an hour, what is all that, that's made up by us. That's my point. Those are all social constructs. They do not exist in the way that we conceptualize them without humans to conceptualize them. Jaden, thank you for the follow. But we'll go ahead and continue.
And I imagine I was raped, which is certainly an act of evil itself, and I got pregnant from it. I think I would get an abortion. Is that still evil? Like, I don't know, probably.
So now it's just semantics. You gotta remember, I'm trying to use very rigid definitions for what I'm doing. Yes, it's semantics. That's also 90% of philosophy. Working Class Warlock and Snake-Eyed Demon, thank you both for the follows as well, over from Vosh. I appreciate the pseudo Vosh raid. Captain Phyllis, thank you for the follow as well.
Probably, but I'd still probably get one. Okay, and you said a couple months after conception. Like, why a couple months, JP? It's just kind of an arbitrary number. But what I'm certain of, though, is late-term abortions and even mid-term abortions should be completely banned. And for the rest...
So mid-term abortions and late-term abortions. Okay, so this is where we've got our issue. So a lot of people cannot even tell they're pregnant at 2 months. They can't. Moosin, you can use the pronoun commands. Yeah, he wants people to die. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't know if that is. Zelhana, thank you for the follow. Jezebel, thank you for the follow. Musant and Captain Syphilis, thank you for the follow. Jesus. But here's the thing. To argue that abortions should not be allowed in the mid or late stages is to argue based entirely on not understanding reality. And what I mean by that is if your reasoning to talk about this is, well, there should be a grace period. Well, why do you have a grace period? Why do you have that grace period where you have it? Fat Booty Sniffer, thank you for subscribing. Old School AJ, thank you for the... Oh, well. Why do you have that grace period? Generally speaking, it should be because people don't know they're pregnant at certain stages. They don't. You've got to be able to give people time to, at the very least, know they're pregnant. But I can throw a bunch of scenarios at you that can show that your parameters are not good or moral. So, let's talk about this. First of all, not all women, and in fact, most women don't know they're pregnant at the 1 or 2 month stage. They don't. They just have not developed enough for that. They haven't shown enough for that. In fact, actually, at that stage, a lot of people who are not tracking their cycle all the time might just figure that they've gained a little bit of weight. JFlow, thank you for the 500-bit cheer. I appreciate it. I said, you're waiting for the fetus to follow? Eventually. But not only would somebody not generally know around that time, but there's also other scenarios to consider. Let's consider the scenario you've given, rape. Or even better, let's talk about somebody who's in an abusive relationship. I know your previous statement was about, hey, maybe you should have some more discretion about people you sleep with. Hot Lime Wings, Krogan Poppy, and Ice Beans, thank you all for the follows. Jesus fucking Christ, you guys. I understand that that's the point you want to make, but do understand as well that a lot of times people do not know that they are with an abuser until they are already in a relationship with somebody who is abusive. Never. Captain Syphilis, thank you very much for subscribing. And Escatard, thank you very much for the follow. Zamodi the Second, thank you for the follow as well. Demur is better than Mono Blue at all times. Oh, I agree. No, Mono Blue players are objectively evil. Poppy Gill, thank you for subscribing. So, since we know that there are plenty of scenarios where somebody might not even have been raped. Zamodi? Okay, fair enough. Somebody might not have actually been raped, but they are in a relationship with somebody who is abusive, who will likely use a pregnancy to lock them down. They might not be able to safely get an abortion in those first 2 months. They might not be able to. Because of scenarios like that existing, if we want to talk... Brother says, I will debate you later on Mono Blue. No, you won't. No, you won't. If we accept that this is a scenario that has happened plenty of times to both men and women, we need to also accept that the side effects of that scenario are that people can get trapped. And while you may want to make the argument, well, you shouldn't kill a baby for that, you also shouldn't force a scenario that causes somebody to be stuck with their abuser for a long period of time. They shouldn't. Sea Snake Jerry, thank you for giving out a community sub. Katarin and Riverkilled Doctor, thank you both for following. Last Dinosaur, thank you for the gifted sub. And Geesley, thank you for the follow. Because of that, both because not everybody knows exactly when they are, exactly when they're pregnant, and there's enough scenarios where people are abused, and you can't even use any data to say, well, it happens at only .something%. That's reported cases. Not all cases where a fetus is a very, very bad thing for someone to have because of an abuser are going to be reported. Always assume that that number is vacuous and that a woman's decision to or to not get an abortion is just her own damn business. Why did that voice you did sound like Jordan Peterson? I don't know. Why did the voice sound like Jordan Peterson? I don't know how to sound like Grandpa Kermit the Frog, but I'm going to Kermit Alivant. Wraithikin and Geasley, thank you both for the follows. No, it gets worse. It gets worse. I can just do... I can literally just do the Mickey Mouse voice. All right, Awaken with JP. Let's go ahead and talk about the ways you want to oppress women. I know we at the Disney Corporation do not believe they are people, but you might have a little bit of a different opinion on that. Let's go ahead and figure that out, okay? Come on, Goofy. Like, I can just do those. Like how back in the 1910s, trans people were about 3%, but by the 1960s, trans people were about 12%. Oh, wait, that's left-handedness? Jesus Christ. Can you say... Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. Sorry, I need to do that more like Kermit. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. Oh my god, you're now one of my favorite streamers for real. Jesus Christ. I'm on the Jackson's gay all year round. Jesus Christ. I found out there was a trans Roman emperor today. Yep. They didn't have the words to describe it back then, but we would have used those words now. Rimaru Tempest 13 Ezra, thank you for the follow, and Lossy Input, thank you for the follow as well. You actually think the first one was better? Fair enough. Who was it? I remember ages ago an ex of mine did a video on them, but I don't remember the name specifically because it's not a thing that I care too much about. But a person said Elagabalus? Elagabalus. There we go. A buddy of mine mentioned a while back, Negociator Tone partially reminds me of Lester Crest from GTA 5. Oh dear. Kermit the Frog is definitely a liberal. All right. Come on, JP. Let's continue hearing your dumb opinion.
Record, I don't believe any of the BS that says, well, a baby isn't a baby until we want it to be a baby. No, a baby is a baby from the moment of conception.
No. Let's fucking talk about that. A baby is the thing that comes out of you when you give birth. A baby is the thing that kicks in the womb. A fetus, a zygote, are names for developing stages where we have clumps of cells and that weird sleep paralysis demon thing that exists in the womb at one point. Oh, hi, Gigi. I need you to move, Gigi. The Reptile Magician, thank you for the follow. Kidderdoodle, thank you for the 50 bits. When does bread stop being bread in the toaster? I don't know. When does a pile become a heap? But let's go ahead and continue on just a little bit here, JP.
And there's evil lunatics out there that want to be able to kill babies up until the moment of birth. And there's even a California bill that's been proposed that would allow people to kill babies up to 28 days after birth.
Let's see here. California bill would allow killing babies in infanticide up to 28 days after birth. Well, your source here is Life News. Let's go ahead and check on that source real quick. Okay, Volume Booster, go the fuck away. We're gonna check on that real quick. So, Life News, media, bias, fact check. Let's take a look here and see what we would expect. Oh, God. Really, Awaken with Shit? Really? This is your source? We have something with an extreme right-wing bias and, of course, a very low rate of factual reporting? Oh, boy. Holy shit. Yeah, never would have thought. Never would have thought. Questionable reasoning because of conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, and multiple failed fact checks. Wow. Okay. Sure. That's our source here. Maybe I'll do a video on that California bill that apparently exists. Who knows? I like making fun of fiction.
A bill that's been proposed that would allow people to kill babies up to 28 days after birth. There's no question in my mind that there's nothing but pure evil behind this. And if you give these evil lunatics an inch, they'll take a mile, but they'll take that mile inch by inch, so your mind acclimates along the way and can't quite distinguish how outrageously evil the acts are.
Congratulations! You just described the Overton shift to the extreme right wing that has happened in America over the course of several times, or over the course of several decades. Mutant says, are you on Live 2D right now? Yes, this is a Live 2D model. The artist is Suzu Sawara. I also have long hair. I know, right? Color me shocked. There's hair there. We'll go ahead and continue just with the long hair right now.
Unchecked, you can only just imagine where these evil lunatics will have abortion in 20 years. Oh, your kid's 2 years old. Does he talk yet? No. Oh, well, a clump of cells isn't really a human until it learns language. So why don't you take him out back for an abortion while...
I love how we have another fallacy here. We have the slippery slope fallacy. Now, while I actually engaged in a fallacy earlier. That's a thing that I need to point out for myself. When I did that media bias fact check, technically I engaged in a genetic fallacy. I dismissed what he said based on the track record of the website itself, as opposed to looking into the individual claim. I don't have time to look into the individual claim. I might end up doing that in another video. So bear in mind that my opinion on the California article is, might be true. I've seen crazy shit thrown in by politicians from both sides all the time. Who knows? But yeah, we got slippery slope on the bingo card. Woo! Also, real quick, for anybody who is here, this stream is partially also a fundraiser for another YouTuber, Gilly the Kid, who is currently in an awkward position. YouTube has really, really cucked most of his videos, and he only recently started getting videos that started to function to help him out. Yes, he is working outside of YouTube as well, but no, it's not paying enough of the bills. So we're a little over halfway on our goals of trying to get to, at the very least, $1,000 to help him afford his car repair. Meter isn't there right now. I know. I just threw it up there. So if we can get a few more donos over there to help him get to where his car can at the very least be repaired, that would be a huge boon. Not enough to fix everything, but a huge boon. So if you have money that you were planning on throwing at me because of whatever reason you're watching this stream, at the moment, please throw that over to Gilly instead. Donating 300 gets us a nuke. It did. It did. Radical Criticism says, you know what would be a fallacy? If I said JP was stupid because he looks stupid, he's just stupid because he's stupid, which should be saying so it's technically a fallacy because it's ad hominem, right? No. No. Calling somebody stupid is not ad hominem. That's just an insult. Ad hominems are not insults. You can engage in ad hominem and it be an insult. For instance, I could say, you're wrong because you're stupid. That's ad hominem. But if I say, you're stupid and you look stupid, or you're stupid because you look stupid, any of those things, that's just insults. That's lumping insults on top of insults. But if I say a claim that he's made is incorrect because he's stupid, now I've engaged in ad hominem fallacy. Pandora Squill says, just gave $10. I wish I could afford more, but rent is coming up. Completely understandable. I think ad hominem should be insults generally, no, or else they aren't ad hominems. Attack on character. No, see, and it's not just an attack on character. If I just insult you, that is not ad hominem. Ad hominem is when I dismiss a claim you've made because of an insult to your character. That's ad hominem. It's a type of genetic fallacy. Said someday I'll have money to give. I haven't been able to give for months now. Looking forward to doing so again. Hey, only give what you have the ability to give. But let's go ahead and continue. JP, you and me.
We celebrate you. Okay. So you might be saying, okay, JP, you think abortion is pure evil, yet you don't think it should be 100% banned? Don't you think we have a responsibility to protect unborn children? That's a great question, and I could imagine how that could be very true. And another way I'm looking at it in this moment is through the lens of a freedom maximalist. For the baby inside that mother, God has assigned that mother and father to be the protectors of him or her.
No. We've already got some fallacious thinking when it comes to God. Let's go do this. This model is 3D. This model is not 3D. This model is a 2D model. Yeah, Smacko, this is a 2D model. This is not a 3D model. This is 2D. I'm leaving the stream for the night. Hope you all have a great night. I'm going to make sure to check out your Live 2D artists for commission ASAP. Awesome, Mucent. All of my Live 2D artists are all noted in the description below. And the About section of Twitch. So let's go ahead and talk about this one. JP, if God is all-knowing and God is all-powerful, then everything that happens is necessarily a part of God's will. Yes? If we agree that everything that happens is part of God's will because he's all-powerful and he's all-knowing, then guess what's part of his will? The abortion. The abortion becomes God's will. And it necessarily is God's will. Because if it wasn't God's will, then there would be an issue here. Either God knew everything that was going to happen, but he didn't have the power to change it, therefore you did the abortion, subverting his will, or he has the power to change everything, but he didn't know that you were going to do the abortion, so he couldn't intervene. Therefore, wasn't God's will. But if you want him to be both, if you want all-powerful and all-knowing, then no, your God mandates all abortions. All of them.
And in the name of not letting the God-given freedom and sovereignty over the mother's being infringed on while the baby's inside of her, I do worry that outsiders stepping in to try to protect the unborn child could be an erosion of freedom that exists on a very slippery slope. And if the parents not only don't protect the fetus, but actually harm it, then that means they are very shitty protectors. And from there, that's perhaps for God to deal with them about, not for other people to play God and deal with them about. And I don't know if I'm right with this part of my thinking. I just know it's...
You're probably not. You're probably not.
What my thinking is in this moment. So in conclusion, I think abortion is evil and should be a choice with limits on it. And I think it's a very evil choice. I believe children are divine droplets of God incarnated to allow divinity to unfold and for heaven on earth to be lived. And I think the killing of divine droplets of God is nothing other than satanic. I also...
Killing of divine droplets of God? Wait, did we just have him literally go, God's cummy wummies are sacred? What the fuck else do you call divine droplets of God? Well, the Bible already talks about the trial of bitter water. Yeah, it does. Let us bottle so much free. Well, thank you very much, Zaria Rose. He just, yeah, divine droplets. Divine droplets of God. Oh my fucking God.
Never look a tulip in the eye.
Fucking hell. We were all once divine droplets of God. Before you were a drop on God's divine dick. Oh my fucking God. You have 24 hours to my divine... You have 24 hours before my divine droplets hit the earth! You hear that, Obama, you friggin' idiot? I came on! Fucking hell. No, we're done. We're at God's cummies. We're done. We don't need... does that mean that when you perform an abortion, you're giving God a cummy ache? Is that what that is? I'm gonna do that. Every single time we talk about an abortion, it's God's cummy aches. That's what it is from now on. Divine cummy aches. Fucking hell. Wait. Fucking shite. Well, that's all that for Awaken with JP. He's given all of his points. He's given all of it, and we're done. There's 3 more minutes left in the video, but I don't think there's really anything else we're going to get out of this here. So if abortions are divine droplets being wasted, abortion is how God masturbates? Yes. That means all abortions are basically God wiping his smegma off of the earth. So help God clean up. Abort more kids. Anyways. Anyways. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I think that this is a position that attempts to be a reasonable position, coded in a lot of awkwardly transphobic and shitty jokes. And then, of course, the position itself, no. I personally am an advocate of abortion being viable pretty much at all points, because as long as somebody is in your body, then you should not be forced to bear them. You should not. Any argument to say that we should put a point in time where an abortion should not be able to be done is an argument in having perfect knowledge of the entire situation that a person might be in. You don't know the situation a person is in. You don't know if month 7 was the only time they were able to get one, the only time they were able to schedule one, because of a variety of factors, either economic or abusive. It doesn't matter. There's enough fringe scenarios that I would like to prevent from ruining people's lives. So I would rather people have that access at all points in time. Now, in a world where we had a perfect adoption system, in a world where we did not have a myriad of religious abuse in that particular bit of infrastructure in the United States, maybe I would be a little more lenient and say that no, adoption is more okay in these situations. But I don't want somebody to go through that shitty trauma, and I also don't want somebody to be forced into a myriad of nightmare scenarios because of being forced to bear a kid. And because I do not have the ability to engage in perfect knowledge in any of these scenarios, that I'm going to engage instead with the safe bet, which is let women control what happens and who uses their bodies at all stages of all types of life and personhood. But anywho, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I know that my position on this is very, very extreme, but I also know that I have my damn reasons for it. Let me know your thoughts. Hit the like button on YouTube if you haven't already whenever this goes up on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the Patreon if you haven't. And as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here.